Elden Ring Nightreign introduces 8 Nightfarers, including the Executor, a painter who is purportedly from the prestigious land of reeds. He is a master of deflection and katanas, essentially a samurai with some dash of artistic flair. All of what I have said makes some sense up to this point, except all of what I just said is simply inaccurate. The Executor's identity and lineage have been entirely misrepresented in every lore video that has attempted to explain him. Today, we are dissecting the Executor's true story in this video, beginning with his first journal entry. The first journal entry reads, "Mind flesh partially bladed, mind hand with brush, a window into oneself, brush strokes outline these fragments of memory." The first line already gives away more than it seems. He says his flesh is partially bladed. That is referring to his armor, which is not just a costume. The Executor is literally fused with his armor. Even in his beast form, you can still see the plating. This may seem like a small detail, but this is actually crucial to understanding his full story. Then he mentions that his memories are fragmented and lost, and that becomes a recurring theme throughout his journal entries. Now, the second journal entry expands on this, and it reads, "The air tree, I am an artist from the distant land of reeds, washed up on the shore, inspired by what I saw, but the piece is incomplete, something is missing." Again, he claims to be from reeds, but here's where things start to feel off. Yes, the Executor uses a katana. Yes, he is good at deflection, but his ultimate ability is an aspect of the Crucible, a power that is exclusive to the Crucible Knight of the lands between. Now, let's take a look at this. Lore-wise, there is no evidence that the Crucible's power exists even outside the lands between. Every mention of it in the base game ties directly to the air tree's roots, not from the land of reeds. So, let's look at this. How can a samurai from a distant land use the most powerful Crucible transformation we have ever seen in the game? It just doesn't add up, right? So, after the second journal entry, things start to get weirder. The priestess gives the Executor a task to do. She sends him to retrieve an Altus bloom from Lemfield, saying he is familiar with the Golden Order before the Ninth Cataclysm. Again, why would a foreign painter be that familiar with the Golden Order at all? Once you bring the bloom back, the priestess apologizes. She says she had to test us because the light of grace is the only thing connecting the shrouded round table to the outside world. That she feels something is about to happen and our knowledge of grace might be extremely important. Then we read the third journal entry, and now things start to spiral. The third journal entry reads, "Flowers, an embracing warmth. From the flowers, the same flowers that grew in my painter's shed. I am an artist painting the air tree. I am a guest bearing a sword. I am silent. I am a witness." So wait, after reading this, is the Executor the artist? Or is the Executor the guest? How can he even be the witness in the first place? It seems like even he, the Executor, doesn't even know who he is anymore. However, chapter 4 digs much deeper, which reads, "I am a guest, or perhaps an executioner. The guest speaks. I will wait until your air tree is complete." Now, the dialogue is clearer. The guest is now seen to be the executioner. He was sent to kill the painter, but chose not to. Instead, he decided to wait until her painting was complete. And here's the twist, the canvas he guards shows to be a Crucible Knight. But hold on for a while, didn't the Executor say he was the painter and the guest? It is starting to look like there is more than one person involved in the story. And now, chapter 5 complicates things even further. Chapter 5 reads, the air tree was still incomplete, and so I drew a sketch in solace of an old friend from the land of reeds, who speaks not a word. I will entrust it to my guest. I cannot complete the air tree before another executioner arrives in the first one's stead. Okay, now everything is changing. The painter now draws a sketch of the executor's sword. The sword that is said to be cursed that we use to deflect. But what role does this sword really play in this story? The sword is described as an old friend from reeds who speaks no words. That is because the sword isn't just a weapon, but something that seems rather more alive. The journal then says a second executioner is coming, and that the first executor, which is now the guest, failed to kill the painter, therefore not fulfilling the task he was meant to do. And so now, chapter 6 drops a bombshell. It reads, the Crucible Knight, a portrait of my guest, or perhaps my executioner. A crucible holds a composite. My guest couldn't bear to render a judgment. He stood outside the painter's shed, overlooking the air tree, until the very end. This is huge as it holds a lot of meaning and goes much deeper. The painter describes the Crucible Knight to be holding a composite. Remember that word, composite, because this is the most important underlying in the entire quest, one that would reveal the true story of the Executor. The painter says the Crucible Knight couldn't bring himself to deliver judgment, so he waited, guarding her until another executioner would come until the painting is finished. Now, after that, the priestess gives you another task. The light of grace is fading from the shrouded round table. Your job is to find a golden seed, which is the same ones we use to enhance flask in the base game. She tells us that our memory is the key to restoring the light. After defeating the boss guarding the seed and bringing it back to the priestess, the light of grace is now restored and we are pulled into a memory. In this memory, we see the air tree in full bloom, and then another executor appears, one corrupted by the night. The other executor appears to be a representation of our damaged and fragmented memories that were erased by the night. Or rather, we could say it is our broken, forgotten self. After defeating our other self, we are pulled towards the light, and there we see the painter's shed. Outside of the shed is the altar's bloom which was mentioned earlier in the journal, the unfinished canvas of the air tree, and a dead Crucible Knight lying on the floor. And when we go inside the shed, we see another Crucible Knight kneeling over a woman's corpse holding a katana in his hand. We talk to the knight and he commits seppuku, killing himself with the sword. This knight that kills himself is the executor we have been talking about since the beginning. This is demonstrated by the stab wound that was visible on his remembrance skin following the seppuku he performed with his katana. That brings us to the dead woman. The dead woman was the painter all along. Here is what really happened. Another executioner was sent to kill the painter since the first one, who became the painter's guest, refused to kill her. By the time the first executioner arrives, it is too late. She is already dead, killed by the second executioner. Furious, the first executioner kills the second Crucible Knight who did it. But then, after doing it, he was filled with guilt and then decided to take his own life. In consequence of this, the executor was imprisoned for killing the other knight, who in turn killed the painter. And this is the part every video gets wrong. The executor was never the painter. He was never from reeds, and the sword is never belonged to him in the first place. Here is what really happened. When the Executor committed seppuku and killed himself, the crucible power inside him got activated. And like the painter said, a crucible holds a composite. In science, a composite is something made of multiple elements blended into a superior whole. That is what a crucible does in Elden Ring. The item description literally says, a manifestation of the Earth Tree's primal vital energies, where all life was once blended together. This is the Elden Ring definition of a crucible. It is the point where all life was once merged and it has the ability to do so once more. That is what happened in the shed. The crucible took the knight, the sword, the armor, together with the painted spirit and blended them into one being. That is who the Executor became. In the process, the Executor gained the Crucible Knight power and armor, the sword silence and deflection, and the painter's gift of art. And he even continued the painter's final painting, the one she could not finish before being killed. In chapter 7, it says, the Executor, 2 faces, 1 sword, such is my nature, a soul drenched in blood, yet willing to face the night. And perhaps when the night has passed, I will complete the Earth Tree. The first line hits so much harder now, right? 2 faces, 1 sword, such is my nature. This isn't figurative. In actuality, the Executor is a combination of the sword and 2 faces. Even the Iron Manual says something interesting about the sword.
My champion, have you noticed? The blade you wear upon your hip is not the same as it once was. Not in outward appearance, but in its very being. I wonder why I feel so strongly this must be true. Perhaps it is because I too reside in a frame inanimate.
This explains why the sword is more than just a weapon. It is a whole different entity that is alive in its own unique manner, just like the Executor. So now, if you go back and reread all those journal entries from this perspective, it makes perfect sense. I am an artist from the distant land of reeds, washed up on the shore, inspired by what I saw. But the piece is incomplete, something is missing. Here, this is the woman speaking. She is the one from the land of reeds, and she is the artist. I am artist, painting the Earth Tree. I am a guest, bearing a sword. I am silent. I am a witness. Once more, the woman is the artist, the Crucible Knight is the guest, and the katana is the silent witness. Chapter 5 talks about the painter's longtime companion from the land of reeds, who is silent and does not speak a word. This is a discussion of the katana. As we previously discussed, Chapter 6 talks about being the composite, and finally, Chapter 7 provides a summary of everything and reveals the Executor's actual character. The Executor story is one of the most tragic and complex arcs in Elden Ring Nightreign, and it reveals how deep the game's theme of fusion, a fusion of life, memory, and loss really goes. It also connects to major lore points from the base game. We have seen composites before in the likes of Marika and Radagon, which are the biggest examples we can think of, but that will be a topic for another video. Now, if you enjoyed this breakdown and want more Nightreign content like this, hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss a deep lore dive. Thanks for watching Tarnished. I will see you in the lands between. Bye bye.